Hey guys, I just wanted to share a quick video about one of my latest projects. I got an idea from the forums, the ShapeOko forum. Somebody had posted they had made a playing card holder box, and I have a friend whose 50th birthday was coming up who plays a lot of poker and enjoys playing cards, so I thought it might be neat to make a similar box and sort of got inspired by his design. Then I use the F-Engrave software, which is great. If you haven't used that yet, and you've got a ShapeOko or a CNC mill, you should see about ordering you a little V-bit, like a 90-degree V-bit or something like that, and using the F-Engrave software, and you can personalize all kinds of things and write and draw pictures and stuff. So found a SVG on the web of this little design. This is my son's idea, so we put that on there, and then I put his family name on there. I found a clasp that's a little too big for a box like this. Got it from Rockler, but I bent it a little bit to make it work. It doesn't look like it's bent too bad, but it has a good action on it though, so I sort of like that. It feels good. And then inside I engraved a Bible reference there, and the main part of the CNC work was milling out these pockets. And so basically it's just the shape that I drew up based off of the size of a deck of cards with some tolerance, and just made a pocket operation on MakerCam. Then I made a slightly larger version of that same outline and did a shorter depth pocket between the two, using a ball nose bit. That way you get sort of a round, I don't know if you can see that, but you get sort of a round edge there. It makes it a little easier to pick up the cards. So that was kind of neat. When I was almost done with the box, one of the only parts I didn't like was that you could still see the milling bit ridges on the bottom, and I wasn't able to really get a sander in there and sand. I could have hand sanded it, but even getting in corners and things have been really difficult. So what I decided to do was, my wife had some felt, and I printed out, since I already had the exact design for this shape, I printed out on a piece of paper and then put a piece of felt on top of a wasteboard, just a scrap piece of wood, and then put the paper on top of that and use an X-Acto knife to cut through the paper and the felt, and I got a really good, or what I think is really good, match on the felt to the bottom of the outline, so it matches really tight, doesn't curl up anywhere, and glued that down with some fabric glue, and it came out, I think, pretty good. I guess I had one lesson learned. One is that doing it this way, oh, by the way, this is red oak. I really wanted to make this out of walnut, but the party was coming up and the walnut was not going to be able to come in time, so I had to go to Home Depot and try to find anything there that wasn't pine, and they have some red oak in the molding section, so that's what I made this out of, and it came out okay. One of the things that I learned is that when you mill out all this wood and then you've got this other lid that's not very milled out, the lid is way heavier than the base. So one thing that I wanted was, in that case, you don't want your lid to stop part way, because what will happen is if it stops there, this will want to lift up. As soon as they take the decks of cards out, this will want to lift up, and it doesn't really feel right. So it either needed to lay completely flat, or it needed to stop at like 90 degrees or something like that. Now they make a 90-degree stop hinge you can buy. That's one option. What I thought I was going to do is just put hinges on the back, mark them, put them on the back, and then it would lay flat. Well, what I didn't realize is that, most hinges, depending on what they are, they may not be recessed with flathead screws and things. Like, these are really thin, small hinges. So when I put the screws in, it originally came with little brad nails, which I just refused to use. That's not going to last very long. So when I put the round head screws in there, it was all finished up, and I was very excited. I opened it up, and then the box stopped about right here, which meant that the whole thing, when you took the cards out, would teeter over, and I didn't like it. So I spent some time. I got these flathead screws that actually came with these clasps that I bought. They don't match very well, but what I did is I very carefully took my drill with a larger bit, and I kept drilling very carefully into these to try to countersink the edges of the hinges so that these screws would sit in flat just enough so that this would open all the way. Now, just like everything else with woodworking, I'm learning there's so much more to hinges than you could ever, you know. I had a very naive approach to this, but what I think I should have done after reading a little bit, what a lot of woodworkers, real woodworkers, not me, do, is they put the hinges on the inside, and then they'll either do what's called a half mortise, where they mortise out half the depth on the top and half the depth on the bottom, which takes a little bit more effort, or what they'll do is a full mortise on the bottom, and which is the depth, the diameter of the hinge. They'll mortise that out here, and then screw, you know, the hinge here and here, and the hinge will stay hidden, and then it will open up nice and flat, and so that makes the problem better. And one of the things that I wanted to point out about that is if you do that, you have the opportunity, by knowing the width of your hinge or having it drawn up, you can mill that out in your ShapeOko, because it's not going to be on the edge or anything. So while you're milling all this stuff out, you could go ahead and mill out your cutout. You could mortise out the spot for the hinge to go in here. So anyway, that was one lessons learned that I had. I was really excited with how the felt turned out. That was unexpected, but I think it kind of makes it pretty nice, actually. And although I had to do a lot more work than I thought I would on trying to get these hinges to sit flat, I think it came out nice. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with people. Thanks to the person on the forum who shared their design for their poker card box. And yeah, have fun with your machine.